So we're going to move on with the next meditation. Now this one is a sitting meditation, which you can do sitting on the floor. If you want, you can also use a chair. You're more than welcome to use a chair if that's more comfortable for you. This particular meditation is following your thoughts. Okay? So when you're aware that you have a thought, I want you to follow it. Where does that thought come from? I mean, where does it come from? I want you to actually see if you can locate wherever that thought is coming from or your thinking is coming from. So be observant to the point where when something comes into your mind, ask yourself, where did that originate from? And go to the source of where it originates from. See if you can locate the source of where it came from. Okay. You can do it with your eyes open, you can do it with your eyes closed. There's really no particular manner of being able to do it, although I would try both. I would do a little while with your eyes open, a little while with your eyes closed, just so you can get a different aspect of it. So go ahead and just put your attention on where do your thoughts come from. Again, it's not so much the thought that you're interested in, it's where did it originate? Be curious. Do the thoughts come from inside? Do they come from outside? Where do the thoughts come from?
I can't get any thoughts.
Where did that come from? Okay. So what was that like?
It's like the mind is it's a really tricky guy. Like I just wanted it to ramble and roll, and it just didn't want to, and it was like holding back. And then just at the end, then it started like, and I started to realize, I was thinking, what I'm saying is that it rambles, and it's at the end it was starting to ramble. But when you try to force it there to see where it comes from, it's very elusive, and it doesn't want to, it didn't want to give me, I couldn't get any thoughts.
Yeah, sometimes you got to do the opposite to get the effect. And when you think where the thoughts come from, all of a sudden, they're not so available.
Yeah, exactly. There's no source for it. I didn't see a source for it.
Okay.
It's more aware than a why. It's more of a, see where they're coming from, but I kept going to why they're there, rather than where they came from.
Okay, we're going to do that again. A couple more minutes. Go ahead and again. Not so much the why, but where. Locate the thoughts. Where do they originate from when you're aware?
Are you looking for a source, like a specific place, like the brain, or?
Yeah, I want you to take it to the source. Where does the thought come from? Of you asking where the thought comes from. that thought come from?
The noise.
Follow the thought. Where did it originate? Okay, come on back.
Oh, you jumped around a little bit.
Any observations?
Oh, you jumped around a little bit. At first, I tried it with my eyes closed first, and all of a sudden I had an experience of like being here, but also being like 2 miles up in the air, looking down at myself, but at the same time I was here and there. And as soon as I realized I was at both places, like this link happened, and I was in both places, and I think a place up there was like the eye of the observer kind of watching down on me.
Okay.
But I was not at the same time, and when you asked where the thought that asked you where to trace the thought came from, it kind of placed itself on this eye behind my head. Most of the other thoughts I could like, was like finding places on the edge of my brain where they seemed to come from.
Anybody else?
I think my thoughts were coming from my senses, so I mean, and again, I was listening to the music, so I'm just trying to be aware. I can't find a specific place, like the senses kind of like, the hearing, it gets interpreted, goes to the brain, so it's got to go to the brain, but where it originates from is the sound. It's just like when you clap your hands, so it was, it started, so that's where the thought came from, no? I think I would say that that's where it came from, but I don't know if you're looking for a specific place on the body, but I think that's the senses. I was touching my hands, so I was, I was feeling the touch of my hands, and and so then I don't want the mind to ramble, so I'm really concentrating where it's coming from, so I'm not thinking about that thinking, like then I started saying to myself, well, I'm driving, somebody cuts me off, so and then it's all of a sudden that bastard, so where does that come from? So does it come from the guy cutting me off, or does it's still got to come from me, but it's still, it's all around us kind of thing, but the sound is coming from wherever we see, what we smell, hear,
Okay, thank you. Thanks. All right. I love these little exercises. They always turn out to be wonderful experiments.
That clap certainly was.
Nearly had a heart attack.
In the Zen temples, they use a stick.
Would have been nice if you had it done the gong or something, the cymbals, that would have been cool. You're ready to clap.
You're like this, and I'm drifting out, and I'm like, okay, I'm finally, kind of getting a sense of it, and also, boom, and it's like instant, you just hit the ground again.
Yeah, that brought us down,
Yeah. As I was mentioning, in the Zen temples, they use a stick and they do that. And it's loud, a lot louder than the clap. But sometimes they use a stick on you.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
You know,
I get a reaction.
Then they,
you get a reaction.
where did that thought come from?